Welcome back to the Wolff Den presented by Win Again Academy. I'm Matt Wolff, founder and CEO of Ticket Time Machine. Today we have James Gadsby in the Wolff Den. Welcome. How's everything going?
Doing great. Thanks so much for having me, Matt.
Yeah, excited to chat with you. Some big things coming up next week. And
Yeah,
for those in the audience who don't know who you are, give us a quick intro and then we'll get into it.
sure. My name is James Gadsby, and I'm executive director of the Wolff Foundation and also chief operating officer at Desire Street Ministries. The Wolff Foundation was founded just a couple years ago to help Danny Werfel, the '96 Heisman Trophy winner and former NFL and UF quarterback, uh, kind of fulfill his life mission of what he feels is to inspire greater service and unity in the world. And we're hosting our big Desire Cup and a new event, Pickleball, next week to support Desire Street Ministries. And Desire Street was founded in 1990 in New Orleans, and we basically partner with leaders that live and serve in under-resourced communities across the South to help them develop thriving, sustainable organizations.
So we had Danny on the Wolff Den last year prior to the event. I'm a big Gator fan. Obviously, that's why we're orange and blue. I went there.
Go
Uh,
Gators!
yeah, what has changed in the last year? You guys had an event. It kind of was coming off of COVID, sort of. It was still a little COVID conscious. Now we're, I'm not saying it's over. There's people getting sick, but we've sort of contained the deadliness of it. What has changed in the last year, and what is it going to look like next week?
Yeah, we appreciate the opportunity to share about this year, and as you've mentioned, it seems like with so many of the treatments and a lot of people vaccinated or previously infected, there's a lot more immunity. So we're grateful to be able to host this event again. Our This is our 12th annual Desire Cup, but again to benefit Desire Street Ministries. This year we'll be at Sea Island Resort again, and it's a gala on Thursday night and golf on Friday at Sea Island Seaside Course, leading up to the Florida Georgia game, of course, in Jacksonville next Saturday. And again, this is the 12th year we've done this, but the newest thing for us this year is what we're calling the Pickleball 2022. And this is really birthed out of Danny's new love for the fastest growing sport in America, pickleball, and kind of putting a fun theme on it with a combination of um, uh, a celebrity pro-am, basically, with a celebrity paired up with a pickleball pro from the same university. So Danny will be playing with Kyle Yates, who is a Gator here at UF, and we'll have teams represented from both UF and UGA, but also lots of other schools from everything from Illinois to UCLA and Texas and a number of other schools. But it's going to be a fun event. We got 12 different pairings coming up next week. On Wednesday will be the pickleball, and then Thursday the gala, and Friday golf, and then of course the big game Saturday in Jacksonville.
Yeah, we got some badges coming to you guys for the pickleball day. Saw some
Yes.
big names there. I won't ruin it for anyone, but some big names and ex NBA, some Hall of Famers. It's a big event, and pickleball. It's crazy the growth of pickleball. Danny actually had a pretty funny video. I think it was on Instagram inside looked like it was inside the practice facility. That was a pretty good video. What I want to talk about pickleball and why is that? And obviously it's new, but you can add a lot of things to a weekend like that. You have the gala, you have the golf. Why pickleball, and how do you think that's going to help the overall function of the event?
Yeah, for us the birth of this, or the addition of this to the Desire Cup uh, this year, which is as our annual fundraiser to support Desire Street, the gala and golf tournament have become a mainstay for a lot of our sponsors and guests over the years. And again, between Danny's new love for pickleball and some of our friends and supporters of the foundation and Desire Street shared passion for it, realized a few months ago that there's a pro pickleball tournament happening in Hilton Head on next Thursday. And
Okay.
so we knew a lot of these pros would be coming to the area anyway for that event. And so we said, well, what if we just host like a little fun, celebrity pro-am the day prior, on next Wednesday, and so that's kind of how the idea germinated. And Danny's become, just super involved in reaching out to a lot of different pickleball pros and other celebrities, and glad to share some of those if you'd like, on who we've got planning to play.
Sure, yeah, throw it out there. I know I saw Rick Barry on the guest list.
Yeah, so Rick Barry's our latest addition. He is helping us fill out our final pairing, and super excited to have him joining us. But in addition, we've got a number of folks from both uh, the the pickleball side, which many people may not be as familiar with some pickleball professional players, but as I mentioned, Kyle Yates, Danny will be paired up with him as the Gator team. We've got Annalie Waters, who's again just like a superstar on the women's side. Paris Todd also, and Annalie's mom Lee, Ryan Sherry, who's another Gator, Matt Manassi from Purdue, and Chuck Taylor, Burrows, Megan Fudge, Dan Granat, Lou Halsky. So again, a lot of top pickleball pros, and some of the fun celebrities that we have coming that are pairing up with them. In addition to Danny, we have everybody from Philip Phillips, the musician, former American Idol winner, pro tennis star Kevin Anderson, Casey Patterson, who's a pro volleyball player, former LPGA pro Sherry Steinhauer, Connor Shaw, quarterback from South Carolina, Doug Ellen, who created Entourage. A lot of big Entourage fans out there we know, and then Matt Stinchcomb, who's a bulldog, is just picking up the sport. Danny Duncan, a lot of people may know as a social media influencer, and Brandon Seiler's another Gator that we have coming as well. So we got a couple Gator teams, couple Bulldog teams, and a variety of other colleges represented in what we think will be a really fun event.
How good is Danny at pickleball?
He's pretty good, and I'll tell you, this has been something that for him has allowed his competitive juices to continue to operate. Since his throwing shoulder has become more and more unable to throw passes over the years. But pickleball is mostly down low, right? If you're playing well and dinking the ball, your paddle is generally going to be at a lower level. But again, super competitive guy, and he's really become quite a skilled pickleball player, and I think he's really on the hunt for winning the pickleball next week with
Yeah.
Kyle.
Pickleball is it's very interesting because my mom plays pickleball big, and it started out as that was it, right? It was bigger for the elderly people. It was an event that they did in these communities, and they played. And as it started to gain a little bit more popularity, other people are like, well, why, this sounds fun. Why don't we do this? And now it's become this huge. You have a professional pickleball. I think his name is Connor Purdue, is part of the pickleball. I don't know. They have some pro at the tour. I think he's done a great job. It's on television in some places, and it really is. It's the next big thing right now. So it's pretty cool to have that as a part of your event with the golf. How much thought or hesitation is there to you add this? That adds another day to the whole event. Where does that come into play?
Yeah, well, it's over the years, as I mentioned, this is our 12th annual Desire Cup, and over the years we've had a number of different events, whether a tailgate before the game or other activities, and we've found that tightening it up to the gala and golf has been a good fit for us to, kind of optimize our ability to raise a lot of money for the work of Desire Street, but also not just overburden our small team and all that goes with that. So this will be a challenge for us, adding the pickleball event, but we just thought it was such a unique opportunity, and we'll open up the opportunity to have a lot more visibility to folks that may have never heard of Desire Street, or certainly the Werfel Foundation, or even Danny Werfel. I mean, there are a lot of people out there that may not know that we've got a former Heisman winner helping lead the way at Desire Street, and the work of the foundation. So. But our team is ready. We're finalizing all the plans this week, and we're excited and looking forward to just a lot of fun. We think the pickleball will be a fun addition. It may not necessarily stay attached to the Desire Cup every year, just because as you mentioned, the pickleball kind of industry is almost like this cottage industry that's growing and blossoming. We've seen recent announcements of new pro owners, with Tom Brady, LeBron James, a number of others, Drew Brees. So we're excited that the growth of the sport is really elevating its platform and visibility. And the pro tournament schedule shifts year to year. Still at this point, there's not like a set schedule like we see with a lot of other established major league professional sports. So anyway, so this event, we're hoping it will become an annual pickleball event as well, but it may be at a different time of year by the time we get to the next turn.
Yeah, they're still figuring it out, but if you guys have, if it works well, it's it's you're one of the first, probably not the first, but one of the first to do it. We have pickleball, we got a gala, we got a golf tournament. If I'm listening here, how can I get involved? If I want to participate in any of this, if I want to watch it, if I want to be a part of it, is there opportunity for all of that?
Yeah, there's opportunities for anybody that has interest. Certainly, we're finalizing all the list for the Desire Cup and pickleball events, but we do still have availability if people want to purchase a ticket to the gala on Thursday night, or still put together a foursome or just come play as a single golfer on next Friday at Sea Island. We'd love to have them. Anybody can see the details and submit their information on desirecup.com. And again, it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of we'll talk about the gala more here in a minute, I think. But on the pickleball side, we actually have a website that's helped by our presenting sponsor of the pickleball, Selkirk. If you go to pickleball.net, and you can see more information there. The biggest way that folks can help us if they want to help support the mission of Desire Street, which is to love our neighbor by revitalizing under-resourced communities through spiritual and community development. Again, we partner with leaders that live and serve in under-resourced communities across the South and help them develop thriving, sustainable organizations. So that's our primary mission, and anybody can make a donation. If you go, again, just to desirecup.com, there's a button we call the 19th hole fund drive. So kind of after the round of golf, anybody that wants to support it can just click on that 19th hole donation button and make a donation to the cause there. So a lot of different ways still to get involved, and we appreciate the opportunity to share.
Yeah, what percentage of golfers are repeat, and what percentage do you think are just like random people who want to play and get involved?
Well, we have a lot of sponsors that love the event and come back, year after year, that help support the cause and believe in the mission of the work that we're doing. And it's always, I would say 80% are kind of repeat folks that have been great supporters over the years, and so we're super grateful for them. And our presenting sponsor for the Desire Cup is Pilgrims. They've been tremendous supporters and been our presenting sponsor of the Desire Cup for years. So Pilgrims is one of our mainstays, and again, we're just really grateful for their support, and a lot of our other sponsors as well. But it's really a unique event, and it's small enough that it's kind of almost feels like a reunion, right? You're gathering together with folks that you saw last year, have gotten to know over the last several years. And so it's kind of fun that way, but we do always have new folks joining in, and certainly welcome that as well.
Yeah, I think I know people who actually my friend who is that he's my friend Mark. He is a Gator. His son goes. I think he goes to Georgia if he didn't graduate. Who knows? Ever kids grow up so fast these days. He's a huge golfer. I'm surprised he hasn't gotten in on this. He's actually a friend of Brian Levine, who's a big help to you guys
Yeah.
with what you're doing. Why Florida and Georgia? Like, why invite Georgia to be a part of this? This happened 12 years ago. Was it always Florida and Georgia? I know it was always around the same time, but was it always Florida and Georgia? And why invite Georgia to this?
Yeah, it's always been since the very first year. It's been Florida and Georgia coming together. We call it rivalry for a cause, and it's really been really special to Danny and to our whole team at how we can get greats from both schools coming together to help support the mission and advocate for the work that our incredible ministry partners are doing in these communities. And so it's really special, I think, and certainly Danny's um, people that know Danny and have gotten to know him over the years, certainly those that know or what he's given his life to post football and serving others. The Werfel Trophy was created years ago to recognize the outstanding community servant among all college football athletes each year, and this will be the 18th year that we award the Werfel Trophy. And so a lot of people recognize Danny's heart for serving others, and so I think that has made it to where having even rivals like the Georgia Bulldogs join in on the work to help raise money for a great cause. And Coach Dooley, who has been a big supporter from the beginning, he's been there nearly every year, and I know he's just recently gotten home from the hospital and is recovering there, and so he unfortunately won't be able to join us again this year. But we have a lot of other Bulldog greats that are coming, including from the last national championship, the likes of Buck Bellew and Lindsey Scott. So it's a great time, and we love how all these folks really help lean in and help support the mission of Desire Street and what Danny's given his life to.
Yeah, it's funny, rivalry for a cause. So I was in Gainesville from 95 to 98. It wasn't much of a rivalry. When I went there, we won about 17 out of 18. The crazy part is the one game we lost, I actually was the game I went to. It was the first time I ever went to that. And I think I feel like Garrison, I forget who it was, but they pummeled us. It was a terrible experience for me. I was ill all weekend, not from drinking, just from being sick. So it wasn't much of a rivalry when we started. And now they've become this like thorn in our side. But look, it's for a good cause. So, these people, we get together and we do what's right for the cause. But it's interesting how that's changed over the years since it has started. I want to talk about Danny. He's obviously what starts all of this. And Desire Street started in New Orleans, right, with the underserved community. It's actually housed in Atlanta. But people don't know Danny was a professional player with the Saints, and that's where he got his love for New Orleans for, which obviously I've been to many times. It's great, but you can certainly tell the areas that are in need of help. When I had Danny on, I said this to him, and Danny's a very modest person. I said Danny to me was Tim Tebow before Tim Tebow, right?
Mm.
And that's how I looked at him as a Gator fan. I think a lot of people knew, but he didn't get as much, I think, national coverage. He won a Heisman, he won a national championship, got the NFL, didn't play a whole lot, but Tim did. I think he's such a great person who wants to help, and it's contagious in the world of sports. And when you see people, so how is it involved? You've been with the organization for how long?
I've been with Desire Street for almost 7 years now, and again, we just birthed the Werfel Foundation a couple years ago.
So how has everything evolved, over the years? Because there's so many causes that I had this just yesterday. We're talking about how do you get, your cause to be at the top of mind for time and effort and money. There's
Mhm.
just so much out there, and the average person is going to put this lower than cancers and all of that. So what can you guys do, and what have you done to try and get more visibility and get more resources, whether that's money or just people getting involved?
Yeah, that's a great question, Matt. And I think honestly, the evolution that you talked about, and even the comparison of Danny and Tim, right? Two different eras, even though it was only a decade apart. Tim had Danny's poster on his wall, right, as a kid, and got his autograph multiple times, and he's actually a former Werfel Trophy recipient. So, um, but when Danny was drafted by the Saints, as you alluded to, and he started volunteering at Desire Street, and was founded by Mo and Ellen Leverett in the Ninth Ward in New Orleans in 1990. And so it was about 7 years old when Danny arrived and started volunteering there. Fell in love with the heartbeat, and he and his wife Jessica continued to live in New Orleans even as he journeyed around the NFL. And then when he just felt God calling him to hang up his cleats and go work there full time, was a year before Katrina hit. And of course, Katrina destroyed everything in the Ninth Ward, including the ministry facilities. They had a school for boys, a medical clinic, a church. There was, incredible things happening, but all of that was destroyed by the hurricane. And Danny and Jessica also lost their home in the storm. And so in the midst of kind of the outflow of that over the following years, and Danny moving the headquarters to Atlanta, the vision was always to impact other communities beyond just the Ninth Ward in New Orleans. And Danny and the board at the time, I think, wisely observed that a lot of leaders that are doing this kind of work, where they're living incarnationally, right, moving into neighborhoods to live and serve as a neighbor, linking arms with their neighbors to help revitalize those communities, that the toll it takes on those leaders is really tremendous. And they deal with a lot of different burdens, get pulled in many different ways. And so the recognition that leaders that were already doing this kind of work, could benefit from Desire Street's learning by coming in alongside and just kind of journeying life with them, and providing coaching and training and encouragement and support to help them become the best leaders they can. And the data shows that typically leaders in urban ministries will burn out in 5 years or less. And so our whole vision is to help those leaders thrive and become sustainable over the long term. And so that's been kind of the journey the last 12 years or more since moving the headquarters to Atlanta. And with Danny's giving his life to this post football, he's kind of been under the radar, right? Particularly if you think about the social media era. It's something that Danny hasn't necessarily had the public visibility as much. And that's one of the reasons we created the Werfel Foundation a couple of years ago. Is Danny's given so much of his life to leading Desire Street and the mission and cause, and helping advocate and shine a spotlight on these leaders doing incredible work. And so part of what we felt we could do is elevate that even more, right? If we raised Danny's profile and awareness, he's still known mostly in college football circles, if you will, but certainly not like a Tim, who through the Tim Tebow Foundation is doing amazing things all over the world. And so really, really grateful how Tim's continued to leverage his platform, and so helping elevate the awareness and kind of brand, if you will, of Danny Werfel, so that he can leverage that even more for the leaders of our Desire Street ministry partners, to Werfel Trophy recipients, to just others doing great work serving their communities. So that's what he feels, he's called to, is to help amplify the stories of others. And so this journey over time, from the Ninth Ward to Atlanta, and ministry partners spanning from Dallas, Texas to Orlando, Florida, and across the South, to launching the Werfel Foundation, just to try to grow that visibility and amplification even more. So kind of a long answer, but that's,
It's all great. It's great
eat
information.
up the whole journey there. So
Yeah, it's great information. How does Desire Street help, and how far reaching is it?
yeah, well, as I just mentioned, we have partners from Dallas, Texas to Orlando, Florida currently, and a number of them right in Atlanta, where our headquarters are. And the key things that we do for our partners, and it's usually for about a 4 or 5 year partnership that we enter into, and we provide them with a number of services. We provide each of them with what we call a coach, kind of a lead coach, somebody that has experience and has journeyed this life of living, in the communities where they're serving, and maybe has the battle scars to help, kind of be a mentor and a guide through some of the challenges that they may encounter. And so that coaching, we feel, is really critical to helping them navigate, some of the challenging things they may go through. We also provide training and cohorts. We bring in subject matter experts on everything from organizational development to strategic fundraising, board development. So it's a lot of those things to help them develop as a leader and organizationally, for their organization's long-term health. And then we also have counseling and care that we provide through retreats, and we provide access to counselors, just so that, again, just a lot of the things that they deal with in terms of mental health, ensuring that our partners and their spouses are in a healthy place and have somewhere to go to unpack a lot of things that they experience in these communities. And so that's a big part of it. And then what we call social capital. So this is, again, gets back to leveraging Desire Street and Danny's platform to help shine a spotlight on, help bring, donors, volunteers, board members, others to get involved and get behind the work that they're doing. And so we're kind of a big champion and cheerleader for each of our ministry partners. And one of the ways we do that is we have each year at our Desire Cup Gala, one of our usually one or two of our ministry partners come to share their story. And so we're excited next week to have Justin Bleeker, who leads Grove Park Renewal right there in Atlanta, to be our featured partner next week at the gala. And so Danny will interview him on stage. And after having a lot of fun with with players bantering, and I'm sure Bulldogs will get a lot of their national championship chatter in. But having Justin on stage and being able to share a lot of the work that he's doing in the west side of Atlanta to help the residents of Grove Park, the people he lives among, and a lot of his friends that he's developed over the years. But just doing amazing things, helping provide affordable housing. So having a stable place to live is really critical for a lot of people that do come out of under-resourced communities to have kind of a launch pad, right? To be able to have a place they know they can count on, that they can afford, that if they get a job and have a regular income, they can look toward then building toward the future of potentially buying their first home. And so they do a lot of things rallying with their neighbors in the Grove Park community to provide, just great safe places for families to have a stable home and be able to build life from there.
That's one thing that really shocks me about just, I guess, people of wealth and professional athletes. Like, I went to Detroit many years ago, and there's so much great things going on in Detroit, but there's so many areas that are just destroyed. And why can't someone who's made a ton of money, whether it's through sports or there, build this house? Like, to me, let's do that. Let's put our money there for the housing and get people off the streets, and instead of look, who am I to tell people how to spend their money, right? It's their money, and there's not bad causes that people are doing to, but these seems like easy fixes that you can see results for. We talk a lot about disease, and I'm a champion for let's get rid of cancer and try and help everyone we can for everything. But you don't see a lot of as many results with that. And so you think athletes who are making all this money in Atlanta, in New Orleans, and I know Drew Brees does a lot of good stuff for the community, and you would think that we'd be able to have, with that kind of money, even with the lotteries of this stuff, like, yeah, education is great, but what good is education if a kid has a terrible home life, doesn't have a place to live, and all of this stuff? So I would think there'd be a better way to have that less of a problem. It feels like an easier fix. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's a complicated, question for sure. And I think I think you're exactly right that a stable home life, right? If you just think about, like, you remember we learned back in psychology class or other business classes, the Maslow's hierarchy, right? If you don't have, like, just the basics of life, like, a safe place and food and those type of things, anything else beyond that, moving up to kind of a self-actualization, of impact in the world, if you will. But just having a stable place to live and having food, with inflation the way it's been too, this is a real problem for a lot of people. And the work even that Justin's doing in the west side of Atlanta, again, they've got dozens of properties that they've been able to buy and renovate and provide affordable places for their residents to stay. The additional work of it's a capital intensive process, right? Obviously, if you're buying a lot of properties and trying to fix them up, it takes a lot of money to do that. And so there's always the fundraising side of it, of trying to make sure that they've got enough resources to be able to continue moving forward in the midst of gentrification that occurs. There's some really large corporate organizations that have moved in or announced they were building offices in the adjacent area, and so all those kind of things will end up driving up prices, which makes it even more challenging for the residents, but also for people like Justin who are trying to help provide affordable homes in a community like this, so that people can stay and have their kids educated and grow up with their neighbors and all those kind of things. But there's city councils, there's zoning, there's a lot of other barriers that occur in the process. But it's a complicated issue, but it's a very real issue. And we're certainly grateful for people who like Justin who are giving their life to making a difference in this.
So all of that gentrification, you talk about zoning and corporate, I'll call it corporate greed. That's what it is. We got the Desire Cup next week. A few days later, there's a big election, or a week later, there's a big election. How important is elections into enhancing the quality of underserved? I mean, I, I guess in Atlanta, definitely Georgia, right? That's a big thing. And I'm assuming, did you guys invite Herschel to the Desire Cup? Has he ever been? Have you invited him?
He has been in the past, and I think he's probably a little busy this year. But
You
for
guys take a stand in the politics. I know you probably best you can to be nonpartisan, but there is a big, depending on who is in power, can really help or harm what you're trying to do.
Yeah, it does make a difference. And look, we think that it takes all parties to solve these problems, right? It's certainly not one political party or another. It's not just nonprofit. It's not just the corporate sector or private citizens. It takes everybody, right? It takes a lot of these issues are very complex and the needs are vast, and solving them is they're generational issues in nature. A lot of them very and systemic issues that have to be overcome. And so we absolutely believe that there has to be partnership with public and private and nonprofit, the faith community and churches and synagogues and others coming together to help support, you know, the providing the opportunities for kids that are born in zip codes that they have no say over, right? But that often is going to dictate largely what the outcome of their life could be. And so finding ways to help families in those areas that don't have the resources that many others do is a very collaborative effort, and it takes a combination of all aspects, in addition to policy and those type of things. But we absolutely believe that you have to get everybody involved and come to the table to be a part of the solution.
Do you have a fundraising goal for the year for everything, and then a separate one for Desire Cup?
Yeah, well, our fundraising goal, we always hope to net at least about $300,000 to support Desire Street, and so we've been fortunate the last several years, even through COVID. We had back in 2020, it was obviously kind of very touch and go at that point, with cases starting to ramp back up late in the fall that year, and we weren't sure if we were even going to be able to have the event. But excuse me, we were grateful that despite having restrictions on how many people we could have at the event, it was about half the size as typical. And despite that, we had a lot of people that just donated toward it and supported, and so we were able to still continue to raise. A lot of people showed a lot of generosity and compassion through that really challenging season, not just for Desire Street, but again for many of our partners as well, in helping support the work they do. But yeah, so that's kind of what we're hoping, that between a combination of sponsorships and auction, as well as the 19th hole fund drive that I mentioned, so just people donating toward the cause, all of those things together, our hope is that again we can raise $300,000 toward our budget for the year.
Yeah, I mean that's a great number, but again, as I start to look at who's involved and who's there in Florida and Georgia and all the people, it just seems like one person. Again, I don't. I'll never get. It's look, when I have that kind of money, I hope to have that kind of money. If I do, you can mark this words. I will give 300,000 to Desire Cup when I have kind of money. It's when you have it, it's I don't know, with millions. People have millions, hundreds of millions of
Yeah. Oh
dollars,
yeah.
tens of
Yeah.
millions of dollars. It's
No question.
plus
No
it's a
question.
tax write off, right? I mean, everyone needs
Yeah.
extra money for tax write off. I don't know. I
And
know it's a tough conversation to have. Like we can't tell you how to spend your money, but you're seeing people. I mean, even look at Elon Musk. I always bring this up, like $3 billion for Twitter. Why? What is he going to do to Twitter that's really going to enhance anything? Then think about what that money could do for God knows how much. It's just it's hard to, and I know he does a lot of good. I'm not going to say he doesn't, but it's just you see stuff like this, even in the at University of Florida, the amount of money that people are putting towards the athletic program, and
mhm.
it's great, right? I'm a Gator fan. I love it. But there's more important things that I think people can put money towards, and it feels a little disappointing to see where priorities are.
Yeah, it's but I think in a fallen world, right? There's always going to be, and as individuals, we're all selfish to some degree. But I think the opportunity to show people what others are doing to make a difference and an impact, that to us is we almost feel like at Desire Street, we're what we call the intersection of lives, leaders, and neighborhoods, meaning that we can invite wealthy philanthropists in to meet people that live and serve in these communities and hear their stories and see the impact that they're having and just fall in love with that mission and get behind them. And that's part of what our hope is for Desire Street is not just to raise money for ourselves, but we want to shine a spotlight on the amazing work that people like Justin are doing in their neighborhoods to really make a difference. And so that's our hope, is that people will fall in love with their mission, get behind them, and support them. And we've it's been exciting to see over the past years, even at the Desire Cup, where Charles Lee from Montgomery, one of our partners that we featured a couple of years ago, um, at the end of the night, Danny asked him, well, what do you need? What needs do you have right now? He said, well, wow, if we just had two vans, they basically do youth workplace development for teenagers in Montgomery and now also in Atlanta. But he said, hey, a lot of our kids don't have transportation, so if we had two vans to help kids get around, between their work shifts and get them to training and other things, it could make a big difference. And by the next day, they basically people came forward and said, hey, we want to buy you a van.
Yeah.
And
Or
so
stuff that's lying around. And then time. There's so much other stuff that people can do as well. I don't want to harp on just finances and right because there's other stuff that's more important.
yeah.
Money you can always get. Time, it's hard to find people who will take the time out, who have the compassion, who want to be a part of this. And so, do you find it hard to find those people to give the time? How much growth uh, do you guys see on a year over year with what you're trying to accomplish? Because you're looking to expand, right? I mean, New Orleans, Atlanta, definitely area, but there's so many places, pockets. I just talked to,
Oh,
we're talking to someone in Jackson, Mississippi, about a tribute game that they're doing next year, and that's a pretty hard hit area.
yeah, yeah, for many reasons. And we actually had one of our former partners is in Jackson, Deshaun Dyson, when he was at the Redeemer School, doing amazing work there in Jackson, Mississippi. And yeah, the needs are vast. Let's face it. I mean, there's probably thousands and thousands of people that we don't even know across this country that are doing the same kind of work. And we feel we have a niche at the people that we serve that are living in the neighborhood, right, where they're serving, and with a vision to see holistically that community revitalized, right, everything from
Oh,
edu-
sorry. I want to stop you right there because before I get mention about other people doing, I talked to this about like other cancers where there's this organization that is there any partnering amongst these people who are doing the work to try and figure out how can we pool our resources or get better, or is it just kind of
yeah,
let's
do you mean between our partners?
well, it's not people you're already partnered with, but there's other organizations that are doing either very similar work or exactly the same in different areas.
Yeah.
Maybe particularly in in the northern part of the U.S.?
Yeah, well, and I can't speak to the northern part of the U.S., but you're absolutely right in terms of partnering together. In fact, we encourage all of our ministry partners to, to seek collaboration with other organizations. And honestly, the approach that the way that we go about our work now by partnering with leaders that are living and serving communities that they're their own organizations, right? So they're each their own 501c3 nonprofit or a program out of a church or something like that. And the vision of, as I'd mentioned, from kind of coming out of New Orleans, the vision was always to see Desire Street impact multiple neighborhoods because the needs are vast. But again, Danny very wisely, I think, recognized, Atlanta doesn't need a Desire Street, planted flag in a neighborhood. There's already amazing people like Justin and Latanya Johnston and Drew Henley and Benjamin Wills and people that are already doing this kind of work. And so how can we best help leverage what we do to support them? And so our whole model of partnership we feel is critical, and not just, us planting a competing flag, right? Trying to do the same kind of thing, but trying to provide leverage to help them be the best they can be, and help them develop into thriving, sustainable organizations making an impact. As I mentioned earlier, the collaboration between public, private, all of these aspects includes nonprofits working together as well. And we're really excited. We're in different communities, in Atlanta, certainly in Orlando and New Orleans, several of the communities where we have partners, we'll have different partners focusing on different things. For example, we have, a school, a church, and another community development corp that we're all partners collaborating together for the English Avenue, Vine City area, just west of Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, heroin capital of the U.S. And so seeing them collaborate together to make an impact and not try to take everything on themselves, but recognizing where there are, different organizations have different strengths, but collaborating together, they can really make a bigger impact.
Can you solve the problem? Is there going to be a day when New Orleans and Atlanta and Orlando are going to be rid of, say, the not rid of it, but there's a line, whatever that line is, it's got to be above the poverty line, because that's way too low to be aiming for. But is it possible, and how is it soon? Is it a decade? Is it in our lifetime? I mean, what's the feeling on that?
Yeah, well, it's, in some sense, it can be kind of discouraging to think that, is it really making a difference? But then
But you're definitely making it. There's no doubt that you guys are making a
oh
difference,
yeah,
right? But
uh,
I'm saying to somewhere where we move on to a different area, and because we've been successful at it, and we're saying that we've done enough here. Not that you're going to like abandon it, but you say we've done enough here. It's time to move on. We feel pretty comfortable about where we've brought this.
yes, yes, and that's, what I was going to say is the stories of the families that, that are residents in these neighborhoods, and seeing the difference it makes in the kids' lives, right? The opportunities that these kids are having, the stable home lives, the economic development. So all of those aspects, they're things that are, they're not going to be solved in 2 years, or even, in our 4 or 5 year partnership. Many of these things will take generations, right, to see the real impact across, family lines and all those kind of things. But um, we definitely feel like when we've been through a partnership with somebody, and they kind of move into what we call alumni status, right? So we finish the partnership, and we feel that, and we go through an assessment that we do to try to identify, are they in a thriving, healthy, sustainable place that they can continue growing and continue to impact the neighborhood. That's our hope, is that if we're doing our part well, we're hopefully helping, develop thriving, sustainable organizations, and these leaders that are leading them are in a healthy place to be able to continue the work, as always a part of the Desire Street family, but not necessarily in partnership once they move into that alumni status. So yeah, we do see, and have had lots of success stories and amazing impact that these these folks are doing. But it's the needs are definitely tremendous, and there'll always be the opportunity for other neighborhoods and communities that will continue to look. We're just ramping up right now our application process for our next group of new partners we'll be taking on over this coming year.
Do you think about doing like another event? You have the Desire Cup; it does well. Is there another event maybe earlier on in the year that could be something else that could be beneficial for everything you're trying to do?
Well, we've talked about whether we do something in the spring, and again, we'll see how this first annual pickle bowl goes next week. That could be something that really blows up, particularly as the sport's growing in interest, and hopefully the pros have a great time. And if we find a way to line something up that they're all coming to the same city again for another pro event next year, and maybe aligning something around that. Um, but yeah, we'll see how this plays out. But we're really excited about what's going to happen next week with
Yeah.
both pickleball and with Desire Cup, and where all of this leads. So more to come.
I see footballs back there. Silent auction, obviously big fundraising for this type of stuff. Those are easy to get, right? Then you can sign footballs. We get a lot of players to sign footballs. What do you have back there? And also talk about the $300,000 football as well.
Yeah. So in the case behind me is kind of what the things that my wife and I have accumulated over the years, and certainly Danny's on most of those items, I would say. But yeah, the silent auction is always a big part. We have a great friend at Palm Beach Autographs, Martin Buckley, who always helps us out with our silent auction. And
Martin was on the Wolf Den. I talked with Martin. We've done some stuff for them. I hope to get to meet him. I know it's a busy weekend, but I'll actually be in Jacksonville next weekend, so I hope to get to finally meet Martin. But
yeah.
just a great person, and
Oh
just
yeah. We love Martin. He's been just a great fan and friend and supporter of Desire Street. And again, he and his team will help us tremendously. We're actually launching and we'll be launching this via social media and email and all next week. But we'll have nearly the full week for people to bid on our silent auction items, which a lot of a lot of these type signed footballs and helmets and all those kind of things, jerseys, are things that Martin helps provide, and then we'll have some other really unique items through that. But yeah, it's a big part of what how we're able to raise money in the different ways between sponsorships and auction and just the donations, the 19th hole donations. But the kids football you asked about, and I think people can see on the bottom here this link as well for the kids football. The SEC network, the ESPN, did a story just a few years ago on this kids football, and I've actually got it right here. But if you can, I don't even know if you can see.
Yeah, it's very faint.
Very faint. It's kind of old at this point, but you can see a lot of different signatures on this ball. And the way this story started is in fact, it was one of the years when Herschel did come to our event. Was very supportive of helping raise money for Desire Street's cause, and a football that Danny and Herschel signed, auctioned off for $10,000. Right? It's amazing that people will again pay something like that for just a pigskin with two signatures on it. But when Danny got back to Desire Street office and looked on his shelf, right, and this football was on his shelf, and it's signed by kids like Talia and Krisha and Dewan and others, and these are kids from a community center in Donaldsonville, Louisiana, that Danny spoke at, say a few years prior. And when he finished, they presented him with a football that all the kids had signed to present to him. And he got back to his office and he looked at that football and he thought, why would a football with my and Herschel signatures on it go for $10,000? But if we show this to people, would they bid on a football signed by 50 or so kids that nobody's probably heard of? And from a faith standpoint, Danny's perspective, our perspective is that everybody has dignity and worth and value in the eyes of God. And so he took a risk and said, you know, we want to auction off this kid's football at the very end of the night after doing all the other things, and seeing if, will people really value the lives of these kids, as much or more than somebody like Danny and Herschel. And the very first year, this football went for $11,000, so it was the highest bidded item in our auction.
Hmm.
And well, yeah, just an incredible story. And the David Hodges, the gentleman who won it, had it in his on his credenza in his office, and a lot of people would ask him questions about it, and he'd tell them the story, right? That every one of these kids is of equal worth in God's eyes, as Danny Werfel or Herschel Walker. And when we were getting ready for the next year Desire Cup, he called Danny and said, "Hey, I think I want to give this back to you and let you auction it off again. It's made a big impact on me and people that have seen it in my office this past year. And what if you just made this like an annual event?" So every year since, this football has become kind of the pinnacle of the gala at the Desire Cup. And I probably shouldn't even be handling it because of how much it's worth now. But we had the year that ESPN developed this piece, the football had crossed $100,000 in total that it had raised over the years. This past year, we had, you mentioned earlier about generous donors. We had two incredibly generous donors that they were bidding this football up, and man, I'll tell you, sometimes it starts slow, but then it starts working its way up, and people will jump it from 20 to 30 to 50,000. It got up to $70,000, this kid's football. And the two guys went and talked to each other, and they said, "You know what? If we're both willing to pay $70,000, not only to recognize the lives of the value of each of these lives of these kids, but also to support the mission of Desire Street, let's both put in 70,000." So the ball raised $140,000 last year, and it's now raised over about $330,000 in the over the life of this football. So it's really an
Oh,
incredible
is someone
story.
going to keep it or just keep staying?
What's that?
Does someone get to keep it?
Yeah, so during the year, whoever wins it basically can take it for the year, and we have a case that it goes in, and so they can set it on their
It's
desk.
just for the year. It's like a donate, you keep it for the year, it comes
That's
back.
right. So yeah, each year after they win it, they
That's
keep it for
great.
the year, and then they bring it back for the next
Oh my
Desire
God.
Cup. And so, we've had several people that have won it multiple years. Um, and but it's just a really amazing story. And again, if you watch this video, again, the link at the bottom for the Vimeo, you can watch. It's just about a 5 or 6 minute video clip that ESPN did a number of years ago, and it's really powerful. And again, the fact that it's continued to make such an impact is great. And it's anyway, just an exciting part of our night at the gala, and hopefully this year we'll, I don't know if we'll top 140. That would be miraculous, but
It's tough. But whatever you can get is it's great because
absolutely.
it all helps. What's your favorite piece of memorabilia from the events that you've done with Desire Cup, and do you have something outside of that?
Yeah, well, we have some unique items back here, including football signed by all three Heisman winners at Florida,
Pretty good.
Danny, Coach Spurrier, and Tim Tebow. We have a football signed by about 30 or 40 Heisman Trophy winners, a Heisman football. We even have this is kind of a unique piece. I'll get it out here, but Tim Tebow's cleat from when he played with the Broncos.
Love it.
Yeah, we actually won this at my wife and I back before I joined the staff. We were sponsors ourselves, and I actually served on the board of Desire Street before joining Danny full time, hanging up my corporate hat 7 years ago. But yeah, so it's pretty fun. We got to go to one of in fact, it was Tebow's very first home game as a starter for the Broncos.
Wow.
He led a great comeback. It was the day after Christmas. and he led a great comeback against the Texans. And so, as
I,
Gator fans, we were super excited for him and very
I
proud
was
of him.
wearing my Tebow Broncos shirt in the Don Shula's suite in the game that he beat the Dolphins with an incredible comeback. It's unbelievable. I was going to ask you, Home Depot for a long, long time. You were involved in this event, and that's what got you to want to come over. Is that the short version of the story?
Yeah, yeah. My background was in technology, and yeah, I worked at Home Depot at our corporate office in Atlanta for over 20 years. Just a great company, great culture, and I love the people and the impact. And as we described, bleeding orange, which I said was easy for me. I already bled orange and blue, but served on the board at Desire Street for about 5 years, and just felt called to do something more impactful with the rest of my career. And Danny and I were having lunch one day, and I shared that, and he said, "Well, come join the team. I need a COO as the ministry's growing. I need somebody to help put in some processes and systems as we're growing the ministry." And um, so yeah, so that's kind of my journey and how I ended up flipping from corporate life to nonprofit life. And but it's been great. I've been just so blessed and grateful to be a part of. Getting to know so many amazing people like our ministry partners, folks like Justin Bleeker and so many others. But it's really a
Part of
joy.
the magic of going to these events too, whether you're a sponsor or just going as a guest, and you see what happens, and you go back, and it just makes you want to be a bigger part of that, or find something else that maybe is a bigger, something you're more passionate about or more able to help. I've been to a bunch of them recently, and it's really gotten me to want to try and help as much as I can. And so, right now, my time and a little bit of printing is what I can do a little bit. And we worked to try and just get people and try and help. And that's just, it starts small and you can always grow bigger, but be in it. Are you going to get to play at all? Golf, pickleball? Is that something that you'll be doing?
Yeah, well, I'm definitely not good enough at pickleball yet to be a part
Okay.
of that tournament, but I'm sure we'll hit it around a little bit on the court. And I do try to play in the golf tournament each year with some of our sponsors. And I don't play often enough for it to be anything reasonable in terms of my golf game, but it's a lot of fun, and we're excited, looking forward to it. We've got just a great team. Rose on our foundation team has been tremendous, helping us plan all of this with this new event. Brian Levine, you mentioned earlier, he's kind of instigated the whole pickleball idea. And
Figured.
so we've got a great team of folks, and we're super excited to put this on, to host Justin and his wife from Grove Park Renewal, and share the work that they're doing, and just again help shine a spotlight on people doing amazing work in communities all across the South.
Yeah, this will be my second year involved, and I'm hoping at some point I'll get to the event because I do go to the game. Been going to the game for a bunch of years in a row now, so hope to get there at some point. But love what you guys are doing. I encourage everyone, as you said, silent auction will be out there. If you're a fan of the Gators, a fan of Georgia, you want to help. There's going to be great stuff there from probably other people's. Philip Phillips sending something. I assume he might give, maybe signed, or who knows.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, there'll be some unique things to look at for sure.
yeah, especially when you got Palm Beach autographs involved and Martin involved. So check out desirecup.com, pickleball.net, desirestreet.org, and check out the video of the football. We're going to let you out of the Wolff Den with the same question we let everyone out with. You can spend a day with anyone in the world, 24 hours, but they have to be alive, and you can't be related to them. Who would you pick, and what would you guys like to do? Ideally, someone you've never met before.
That's a lot of parameters. So alive, someone I've not met, and someone not in my family, which would make the case that I hadn't met. Um, yeah, that is a great question. Honestly, I think this could still count, because while I've technically heard him speak or lead a devotion, Dr. John Perkins, who
Okay.
actually is from Jackson, Mississippi as well, is just an incredible man of wisdom and grace and compassion for people. And so I think that just off the top of my head, he's kind of the first person that comes to mind. That's kind of a living legend, if you will. And so I guess that would be my answer.
Yeah, great show. What would you guys do?
I'm sure I would just love to just listen to his wisdom, right? Maybe sit on his front porch there in Jackson and drink some lemonade. Just listen to his just his journey through life and his wisdom for loving and serving others well.
Great choice. Well, next week we got pickleball on Wednesday, gala Thursday, Desire Cup Friday, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party on Saturday, Gators versus Georgia. Big week coming up. I hope you guys exceed expectations by you won't you're blown away by what happens, and it sometimes it could just take one person, or it just could be timing, who knows, whatever it is. You guys are doing great things, and looking forward to being a part of it for many years to come. Appreciate your time here and enjoy. It's also there to have fun, so have a great time and say hi to everyone, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks again so much, Matt. We appreciate the opportunity to share.
Yeah, we'll have you on again before next year and see what's new. One more episode tomorrow. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you soon.